Hey, I've got the executive order that POTUS just signed about religious freedom. So stick with me and we'll go over it in a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I'm going to start with something else kind of, and then get into the executive order and some of the other things POTUS has been doing. So I want to start with this. This is a video I did back in July of 2019. And those of you who may not know, I do crocheting, and it's kind of what I do to keep my sanity from all the political stuff. And when my videos are rendering and, that kind of stuff, that's what I'm doing in the background. And that is kind of what this is about, this video, but it's not. It's about a site called Ravelry that was a very nice knitting and crocheting community that had lots of people. I mean, I heard one number say 8 million, but I'm not sure that's accurate. But thousands and thousands. I mean, big site. And then suddenly back in July of last year, they decided to say, no Trump people. You can't make any Trump hats. You can't make anything that says MAGA on it. Nothing like that. And so a lot of the conservatives left because it was very clear that even in the chat rooms, the little forum rooms, you weren't going to be able to talk about Trump at all. But of course, the people on the left could say whatever they wanted. And that was the really sad thing about it. It was just an example of the left going crazy and trying to impose their values on everyone else. So I wanted to show that to you because I came across this video the other day, and it's one of the Rubin Report videos. This lady right here, she was a Democrat, and she thought she was very happy in the Democrat Party and thought she was pretty solid there. Then the Democrat Party started changing, and she was part of Ravelry. She was a knitter. And so the Ravelry thing really helped wake her up to what was going on. And she wrote an article on Medium and got flamed for it big time by the left. I mean, really bad. So I'm going to leave this. I think it's really a good interview. And there's actually a couple others I haven't had time to watch yet, because today I spent watching Rod Rosenstein dance around answers to questions. And then, of course, get softball questions from the Republicans, at least some of them. And then the Democrats were like, why are we doing this? Yeah, this is not important. We should be doing other things. Oh yeah, this is not important. But anyway, so I wanted to share this with you just because I think it's a really good view of somebody who was on the left, a Democrat, and then they stepped out of line and this is what happened. So if you've got people who are friends of yours who may be Democrats or liberals of any kind, this might be something you want to share with them, because this is what happens when they don't toe the party line. And that's a scary thing. And she found out that, hey, Trump people actually were pretty nice. And she went to a Trump rally. So like I said, I'll leave the link to this down below and you can watch it. Let's get into what we've got. I know this is going to be kind of a short video tonight because, like I said, I watched the Rosenstein thing all day long, and I do have comments on it, but I want to wait until I can add in a couple more things that I found, but I'm just too tired tonight to put it together. Presidential actions. This is where you can go to see what the president's been up to. And you go to the White House site, and then you go to presidential actions. It's in the menu. So when you see that, and you can see briefings and statements, you can see all these different things. But here's where you can find memorandums and executive orders. So this is what President Trump has been doing just in the last few days. He did a memorandum on governors' use of the National Guard to respond to COVID-19 and to facilitate economic recovery. Basically, what he did was extend the federal funding for the National Guard so the governors can use the National Guard for help, with the COVID, because there's still things that they're doing, like helping with nursing homes and also some facilities and making sure that everybody's taken care of. So the National Guard is still working in that respect in a lot of places. And so he extended it to August 21st, I believe. And then he had this executive order on advancing international religious freedom, which is what we're going to talk about. But let me show you the other ones. He did some nominations. He had one withdrawal, but the withdrawal was because somebody resigned, and the guy that he nominated for one position took the other position. So they withdrew him from the position Trump was going to put him in so he could take the position of the guy that resigned. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, and then he made proclamation on National Caribbean American Heritage Month, proclamation on African American Music Appreciation Month, proclamation on Great Outdoors Month. I think that one's kind of funny, especially with all the pandemic stuff. So, it's kind of like sticking it to him. Proclamation on National Ocean Month. All these proclamations. Proclamation on National Homeownership Month. And this one you might not have noticed. He slipped this one in there. Proclamation on the suspension of entry as non-immigrants of certain students and researchers from People's Republic of China. Yes, another word that I have to watch. And then here's the executive order he did on preventing online censorship. So that's all been just in the last few days. This is what he's been doing. This man amazes me. He really does, because he does more in like one day than I do in a whole week. I wish I had his stamina. Anyway, so here we go. This is the executive order on advancing international religious freedom. And this was on June 2nd. And he says, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. And then basically this is going to be about policy. And it has to do with religious freedom. America's first freedom is a moral and national security imperative. Religious freedom for all people worldwide is a foreign policy priority of the United States, and the United States will respect and vigorously promote this freedom. As stated in the 2017 National Security Strategy, our founders understood religious freedom not as a creation of the state, but as a gift of God to every person and a right that is fundamental for the flourishing of our society. And so he goes on and he says, about religious communities and organizations and other institutions of civil society are vital partners in United States government efforts to advance religious freedom around the world. It is the policy of the United States to engage robustly and continually with civil society organizations, including those in foreign countries, to inform United States government policies, programs, and activities related to international religious freedom. And then he goes through and he says he wants it prioritized, and so he is setting down that within 180 days, Secretary of State Pompeo has to work with USAID to develop a plan to prioritize international religious freedom in the planning and implementation of United States foreign policy. So essentially what he's doing in this executive order is saying this is going to be our stance. This is going to be the policy for his administration. And so he's then conveying that responsibility then to people that need to implement that out in the field in, foreign interactions with other countries. And he goes through and he mentions that they are going to have to, the USAID is going to have at least $50 million per fiscal year for programs that advance international religious freedom. This could be very interesting because, some of the countries that we work with right now, and they may be getting some of our aid, are not real flexible when it comes to religious freedom. And usually those are ones that have an Islamic population. So it could be that is going to affect some of our relationships with those countries. I'm not sure how it's going to work. So I know that China is definitely not somebody that wants to give too much religious freedom, that's for sure. So that could affect that relationship as well. But essentially, this is what he's saying, and that he wants it to be integrating international religious freedom into the United States democracy, and that they're going to have a special watch list. And those are countries in which there entities of particular concern, and any other countries that have engaged in or tolerated violations of religious freedom, as noted in the annual report on international religious freedom. And so what they're trying to do is say, these countries, if they're going to be like that and they're going to limit people's religious freedoms, then they're not going to have the cooperation of the United States. And this is something that he wants to make sure that other countries understand, that that the persecution of, like Christians in some of these Islamic countries, it's a very serious situation. And so he wants to make sure that that's not happening. And so he tasks them all with doing these kinds of things. And for training, he wants the federal officials trained so they will make sure that they implement his policy. And this has been one of the biggest problems that has happened so far in Trump's administration, is that, there's like his policy, and then there's these career bureaucrats that believe that whatever policy they think should be in place is what they should be supporting. And that causes a lot of conflict. So when he does something like this and puts a statement like this out, a proclamation, it's clarifying to those career bureaucrats that this is going to be the policy. And you either do this policy, you implement it, and you support it, or bye-bye. Okay, so I think that's what he's trying to get through there. He also mentions down here, this is more about the training, and then economic tools, as in what kinds of things can they do, especially with this special watch list, that they can, the tools may include, as appropriate and to the extent permitted by law, increasing religious freedom programming, a realigning foreign assistance to better reflect country circumstances, or restricting the issuance of visas under Section 604A of the Act. So they do have a little bit of strength there that they can use to implement this. And then I thought it was really interesting that they mentioned this. The Secretary of the Treasury, in consultation with the Secretary of State, may consider imposing sanctions under Executive Order 13818 of December 20th, 2017, which is the blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. We've talked about that before if you've been with me on this channel for a while, because that kind of kicked things off. So, yeah, he's got that. And then this is just kind of defining some things down here. So, anyway, that's the executive order. I know this is a really short video, guys, but wow, it was just such a long day. Rod Rosenstein did do a lot of dancing around, but I was very disappointed with some of the questions. They all made the assumption that he was innocent of knowing about this stuff, but we're going to talk about this on the next video, okay? I'll do more. It's just, it's one of those days. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.